Les élèves ayant un trouble du déficit de l'attention avec hyperactivité, TDAH, vivent souvent trop peu d'expériences positives au cours d'une journée. Ce genre d'expérience peut entraîner des sentiments de stress, un manque de motivation et une baisse de l'estime de soi. Lorsqu'un enseignant comprend la face cachée des problèmes des élèves ayant un TDAH, il peut plus facilement choisir et apporter les soutiens appropriés. Le recadrage de sa vision du TDAH peut mener à une plus grande réussite pour l'élève et l'enseignant.
One of the biggest challenges for parents and teachers when a child has ADHD is to try to remember not to personalize the behaviors. So to remember that the child is not intentionally out to get you if they're disruptive or being difficult. When we see a child in a wheelchair, it never occurs to us to think that they're intentionally choosing not to walk. So for a child with ADHD, we need to remember that they're not choosing to behave this way. It's part of their condition.
Il y a beaucoup d'idées fausses au sujet du TDAH, mais les nouvelles études et une meilleure compréhension dissipent progressivement bon nombre de ces mythes.
ADHD stands for Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder, and it's definitely a real thing. ADHD is a condition that affects how the brain functions. And so for individuals who have ADHD, they have difficulty controlling impulses, focusing attention, filtering out distractions, and they may have difficulty with planning and organization. One major misconception about ADHD is that all children who have ADHD have behavior problems. In fact, about 50% have behavior problems, but that means 50% don't have significant difficulties managing their behavior. We also need to keep in mind that about 2/3 of individuals with ADHD have what we call coexisting disorders, so disorders that go along with the ADHD, and often those may be behavior and conduct problems. So it's important for us to be aware of what other kinds of things may be interfering with the child's behavior and provide supports for those issues as well. ADHD is a biological and primarily a genetic condition that results in differences in brain functioning. It's not caused by external influences such as bad parenting, ineffective teaching, dietary effects, but it may be influenced by those factors so that external factors can either minimize some of the difficulties or intensify some of the difficulties. Children with ADHD are very inconsistent in their behavior, and one misconception is that they can never pay attention and focus. However, in reality, they can pay attention and focus quite well if it's something interesting to them. So if it's very stimulating, like a video game, or creative, like Lego or drawing, they can often pay attention and focus extremely well. In contrast, if it's not interesting to them, if it's something like doing math facts or writing an essay, then they will have a great deal of difficulty focusing and attending to that kind of demand. Boys are diagnosed with ADHD more often than girls. In fact, it's about 4 to 9 times more often that you have an ADHD diagnosis in boys than girls. However, ADHD occurs in both boys and girls. The girls will tend to be more the inattentive type of ADHD, so more disorganized, daydreamy, distracted, whereas the boys more often have the hyperactive, impulsive kinds of behaviors. But definitely both boys and girls have ADHD, and we're becoming more aware about what the issues are for the girls.
Ever since I was little, I had like a hard time paying attention in class, and in grade 2, I was diagnosed with ADHD, and that really affected my schoolwork through the years, because I wouldn't focus in class and wouldn't listen, and then I'd come home and I'd forget my homework. And then that would lead to like me failing in class or not having things handed in on time and then getting like deductions.
For girls, there are some other issues that often come up. They tend to have more stress, more anxiety, and more depression than the boys. And we're just starting to understand the impact of ADHD on girls.
Changer ses idées sur le TDAH peut changer sa perception de son rôle d'enseignant et de là, ses relations avec les élèves. Ce changement peut aussi changer les priorités des enseignants, ce qui peut faire une grande différence dans la manière dont on interagit avec les élèves et dans leur façon de se percevoir.
Students with ADHD will benefit from teachers who are really highly organized. They can look ahead in the curriculum and within their day and think about what challenges are going to be presented for their students and think about how they can mediate those difficulties for them. They'll provide a lot of routine and structure so that these students know what to expect and how to access the accommodations that they need. But I think too, they can also be flexible so that when students are having a bad day or if there's an issue that arises, that they can bend and adapt to that situation.
I think the things that have really helped me through like the past years have been like getting the resources at school from my teachers, taking the extra time like with a tutor, and definitely like finding strategies in class. Like when I am very tactile, I find that I can listen and remember a lot better and pay attention. Today I would say I'm definitely a lot better than grade 10 when I first came into high school. I don't forget my homework as often, and once again that's from having those strategies.
These students can also really benefit from teachers who have high expectations for them. I think whenever we set the bar high and we give students strategies and supports to get there, they will often meet and even exceed our expectations.
For teachers and parents, when they're faced with a child with ADHD, there are two major things that they should keep in mind. The first is that no two children with ADHD are the same. And the second is that consequently, no one-size-fits-all approach is going to work. So it's very important to get to know that child, to get to know what their difficulties are, what their strengths are, and to provide the appropriate supports. With those supports, that child can be very successful at school, in relationships, and in life.